Hello everyone, my name is Doreen Lucente, and for my final research project, I did mine on the Nara Period. The Nara Period lasted between 710 and 794 CE and was named after the Japanese capital. The Nara Period would see a flourishing particularly in the field of literature. This is due to the fact that literature formally began because oral traditions were being recorded down and written. Literature was described as being primitive and masculine, and in this time period, the development of pure Japanese literature was formed. My thesis statement for this paper states that the Nara period is one of the most significant literary time periods due to the historical changes that impacted literature, production of famous and influential literary works, and the establishment of common literary themes such as death and nature. Shintoism was the main religion at the start of this time period, until Emperor Shomu took over control and he increased diplomatic relations with Korea and China. Convinced that the Buddhist faith would ensure happiness for the individual and peace for the country, he decided to adopt Buddhism for Japan. But both aspects of both religions were integrated to be accepted by everyone. The two major outcomes that came from this change was an increase in prayer, and those prayers were sent to the kami gods that represented the Buddha. A literary example for the increase in prayer can be seen in the poem An Eulogy on Death of Furuhai. The main character states, "Wildly I kicked the floor, cried, stared up, stared down." This quote supports the influence that Shintoism through Buddhism had on the literature of the Nara period due to the fact that he is referring to the father praying to the god or the kami of heaven and the god or kami of earth to protect his son from dying. Lastly, the prayer to the kami gods which represented Buddha, can also be seen in this poem again when he states, "Then we trusted as one trusts in a great ship that he would grow up as time passed by." This quote describes how the parents of Furuhai were not only praying but also trusting the gods to decide their son's fate. This is important to know how integrated religion was in ordinary life and how it impacted from people from every class, including the emperor as mentioned earlier. During this time period, Tanka emerged as the most dominant form of writing. The three most important works that came from this time period was the Manyoshu, Kojiki, and then the Nihon Shoki. The last two, the Kojiki and the Nihon Shoku, or the first one known as Record of Ancient Matters and the second one Chronicle of Japan, were both government projects. The Record of Ancient Matters was characterized as describing Shinto myth, origin in Japan, and the imperial family. One quote stated that it gave the imperial line a direct descent from the gods. For the Chronicle of Japan, it focuses on past rulers and describes the errors of bad rulers and the merits of virtuous rulers. This one drew on now lost texts and oral accounts, making it an invaluable source of life in ancient Japan and its mythology. Both the Record of Ancient Matters and the Chronicle of Japan are notable government works that came from this time period and are directed to representing the imperial family. On the other hand, the Manyoshu produced notable works that represented people from all classes. This one, also known as the Collection of 10,000 Leaves, was the first poetic anthology, which consisted of 4,500 poems. Topics in here ranged from death, love, and/or nature, and authors ranged from commoners to emperors. It was celebrated through the centuries for its Manyo spirit, which was a simple freshness of sincere emotive power, not seen later in the polished and stylized Japanese verse. The poems in this book inspired many later poets who ended up copying the styles, imagery, and even phrases. This emphasized the importance of this literary work not only socially but historically due to the fact that it created a foundation to inspire and encourage authors of other time periods. The two main recurring themes that came about from this time period include death and nature. For death, it is stated that it's used to reflect on the spirit of Shinto and its acceptance of the natural and its affirmation of the value of life. This can be seen in the poem An Eulogy on the Death of Furuhai when he states, "So goes the world," showing that there is no stigma associated with death and that it is a natural outcome as a result of many stages, which can also be seen in this poem as the main character describes his child's life from birth to death. Secondly, with nature, it is stated that for the Japanese and for other Oriental peoples, man was considered a part of nature, and the art of living in harmony with nature was their wisdom of life. This can be seen in literature as a description of emotion through imagery associated with the season and the natural world. This can be seen in the story A Dialogue on Poverty, when the main character emphasizes how cold it is to emphasize his homelessness. It can also be seen when he states that the sun and moon don't shine for him, meaning that he is not in harmony with nature. Lastly, I have my references, and thank you all for watching.